morning and happy it's Tuesday, I think, right?
Yes.
I am Grace Jones and I am here with Kelli Sharp, one of our car seat technicians and car seat experts and child safety experts and all the things here at Dayton Children's, and we are going to talk about all things car seats today, right?
Right.
So this week is Child Passenger Safety Week, correct? Nationally. So it's a great time to kind of check in on things, and we're going to go through kind of the different types of car seats, what you might need to look for, maybe some pitfalls you might be stumbling into, things you might be wondering about, questions that expectant moms like myself often have, or new moms, I have a young one at home too, might have. We're going to talk about car seat checks, what to expect, where to go, all that kind of stuff. So if you have questions as we go along, feel free to write them in the comments. We'll get to them, but hopefully this is a great conversation today. So Kelli, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so why don't we start with, we're standing in front of a van here, but Kenna's going to move the camera here because we have a bunch of car seats in front of us, and you're going to kind of tell us there's different stages of car seats.
Yes.
Correct, from infant all the way up to, we can talk about what age. So let's kind of talk through the different car seats and what who they're used for.
Okay, this seat here is a rear-facing only, and indicative of its name, this car seat would never go forward-facing, and this is for a newborn infant all the way up through whatever the weight limit says on the seat. So it could be up through 30 pounds. Many of the infant seats nowadays will start at 4 pounds, but you have to check the labels. Could start at 5, and we're looking forward to the future where they may start at 3.
Yeah, okay.
So that's kind of that seat. And then the seat here is a convertible, and that also could be used for a newborn, all the way up through the weight limits, whatever specified on this particular seat. Okay.
So for this one with a newborn, I'm assuming that there would be some sort of insert or something that's just not in there?
It would be angled and rear facing.
Okay.
And it would have pads and that kind of thing. And the nice thing about a convertible seat is that, and you'll see on there, it has 2 different belt paths, which means you can use that seat rear facing to start out with, leaving them rear facing, and then when they're ready to go forward facing, you can change the angle, flip it forward, and they can use that for quite some time, and it also can be tethered for forward facing seats.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great.
And
so then what's our next one?
All right, this particular seat here is called a combination seat. So if somebody comes to me and they have like a 2.5, 3-year-old child and they need a new seat, or they're not sure exactly what to get, we recommend this kind of seat because the child can be harnessed forward facing, but then when that child is ready to move into a booster, then we can remove the straps and this can be used as a booster seat. So it's that's why combination seat. You can use it for 2 different things.
Yeah.
So that is mostly an older harnessed child, and then on into the booster age.
Okay, great.
Okay.
And then our last one here.
All right, this here is a high back booster, and most of the boosters that you would buy can double as a high back or a low back, and many times the parents will start out using the high back for the younger booster child, and then as the kids get older, they can do, the low back. And the job of a booster seat is to lift them up so that the lap and shoulder belt fits them properly. That's its only job. So there's no installation. It's used with the lap and shoulder belt. That's it. It's just to, in case of a crash, that the seat belt functions properly and all of that hits the child appropriately. So
okay, great.
That's that job.
Okay, we'll step back over here and I'll ask you some more questions related to these seats. So, at Dayton Children's, we never, we don't recommend a certain brand.
Right.
So I'm not going to ask you that, but I think, knowing myself when my daughter was born, and then even now as I'm thinking about transitioning her into a new one, it's very confusing buying a car seat.
Yes.
So when you are talking to parents, what are some tips that you give them as far as how to choose the right car seat? There's a lot of different price ranges. I mean, they range, from fairly inexpensive, really reasonably budget, and up higher. So I'm going to be answering that here in a second because we do have a question from the audience. Kenna behind the camera is going to read that to us, and then we'll answer that, and we'll come back to how we choose car seats. So go ahead, Kenna.
Do we give out car seats at Dayton Children's?
Great question. So the question is, do we give out car seats?
As a general rule, we don't necessarily have a car seat giveaway program. From time to time, we do sponsor special programs, which we did one earlier in the summer for tornado relief. And we do have, sometimes we'll have people donate seats for those that if they're in a crash and they get here and their car seats messed up and they need to, you know, go home, we'll have, you know, a few on a very limited basis. But we do have programs within our counties that do have car seat programs for those that, you know, need help with that. So all of that is on our website as well.
Okay, so if you went to our website, childrensdayton.org, and went under community and then injury prevention, you'll be able to find all the information we're going to talk about today as far as where to get car seat checks, and then that stuff's on there as well if you need to get a car seat. So encourage you. We can put that link on Facebook after this broadcast as well for people. So thank you for asking. It's a really good question, I'm sure. I think we probably get that one a lot.
We do.
So that's a really good question. So let's go back to those who are going out and looking. What advice do you give to parents?
Okay, so one thing that is super easy to do is get the wrong car seat and then it doesn't fit in your car or it doesn't fit your child. So many of the retailers are good enough to go there and they will let you try the seat out in your car.
Yeah.
So the best kind of car seat for your child is the car seat that you're going to use every single time you travel. And if you get a car seat, you're not going to use it, it's not going to be, you know, much help for you. So we do recommend that you try it out and see how easy you're able to use it and if it fits your child and all of those kinds of things, so that you get in that habit of using it all the time. So try it, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a big difference when you look at them from the price standpoint, or are these regulated for safety?
Okay, so according to federal standards, if the car seat is for sale on the market at a regular retail place, not a secondhand store, not yard sales and things like that, we don't recommend that. But if it's for sale, it has met the federal standards, and you can find a convertible car seat anywhere from like $50 up to $500.
Yeah.
And the difference is not in the safety.
Okay.
It is in really the bells and whistles.
The features.
So there are features on the seats that,
or even sometimes the fabric and the color and stuff, right?
Yes, make things sometimes a little easier for parents, but a very inexpensive seat, truthfully, is very easy to use and very simple to put in, you know, once you're shown how to do it. So safety wise, there is no difference.
And I think that's what's really important. And as I've talked to, you know, as I've gone through this process and then talked to other new moms, just reminding them, like, if you want to get the most expensive seat, that's your prerogative, but you don't have to.
Right.
The $50 seat or the $100 seat or whatever, safety wise, it's going to be regulated if it's at a retail store.
Yes.
Now, why do we recommend not buying a car seat secondhand?
Okay, the main reason is that you don't know who owned it. You don't know whether the car seat has been in a crash, so you don't know any of the history.
Yeah.
And that's what we recommend, is that if it's been in a crash, we wouldn't recommend using it.
Right.
You know, and so that's one of the first questions when we do have a car seat check, if they know the history, and you would not know that at a secondhand store. So we discourage that all the way around.
Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about age and weight limits for these seats, which I know that it can vary a little bit by seat or or brand, right? So that's something you guys always recommend looking that up for sure in the guide.
Yes.
But in general, how do you know when to transition?
Okay, so what we recommend, and the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends this as well, which is what we follow at Dayton Children's, is you use the seat to the upper weight limit of that seat. Okay, so as long as you can. So like for this particular seat, all of the information would be right here on the side, the stickers. That's why I recommend not removing the stickers, because all of the information is there. So this type of seat might be used up through, like from 5 pounds up to 30 pounds. Okay. And so you could use that up through 30 pounds. And I would say that every manufacturer sets weight limits differently. So don't assume that one is the same as the other. Always read the instruction. We always go back to the manufacturer's instructions on that kind of thing.
Okay. Now what about height?
Okay, so the height is listed as well. Okay, that's listed with the weight. So your child could be within the weight limit, but then you could have a really tall child and they could outgrow the seat that way. We do recommend that as a child grows taller, he or she needs an inch at the top. So if their head gets taller than the car seat, it is time to move them on. So either outgrowth is when we, move them on. We recommend that you keep a child rear facing as long as possible, as long as the weight of the seat will allow you. And then at that point, moving them on, we don't recommend you move them on to forward facing for quite some time, honestly. And it just depends on which seat you have.
Yeah.
Okay?
Now that's kind of a change in the recommendation, right?
It
Before
is.
last year, it was after 2. Go ahead
A lot
and
of
flop
people
'em.
would say that. Our curriculum, as we
Yes.
teach, we have always said as long as possible, but
Okay.
it seemed in the tech community we always use that benchmark.
Yeah.
And the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends to parents just as long as possible. So it's different for everyone.
Okay.
It's their choice, it's the parent's choice, and that's kind of where we leave that.
Okay. Now, so it's interesting what you said with the height, that it's really with their head that you can look at. If their feet are kind of, when they're still rear facing, their feet are kind of dangling a little bit. Is that
So
okay?
as far as the legs go, if you're rear facing and you're concerned about your child sitting Indian style, here at Dayton Children's we are always, concerned about a child's safety, but we would say that it is simpler to repair, hurt leg than it would be. This is to protect the brain, the
Okay.
head, neck, and spinal cord,
Okay.
leaving them rear facing. So the leg issue really isn't as much of an issue as you think.
Okay, interesting. If you're on here joining us, feel free to ask any questions as we go along. So we'll move back. So this is not my van. This is our nice Dayton Children's outreach van that you might see out in the community. But if you have a van or something, or any car, you could bring it to a car seat check, both at Dayton Children's and then a lot of different places in the community, fire stations, that kind of places do them, right? And that list you can get on our website. Once again, childrensdayton.org. Under Community and Injury Prevention, you can look that up. So what should people expect when they come to a car seat check, and who should come to a car seat check?
Okay, we recommend really anyone that might be responsible to transport a child. So you might be a grandparent that transports your grandchildren to and from preschool, or you're responsible for them all the time, or any parent, caregiver, anyone that needs a car seat in their car. What they could expect, we do take appointments. We also take drive up. 30 minutes is what we allow for that time frame.
30 minutes.
What is helpful about that? If you're short on time, it's really best to do it when you have ample time, because we like to take it out of the car, inspect the car seat, check the expiration date, check the recalls on the seat, and make sure that we're clear on that. And then we like to show the person how to install, and then we like to have them install it as well.
Okay.
So when they leave, they're pretty comfortable with putting the seat in it.
Okay. Does your child have to be with you to do it?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No.
So if you're an expectant mom, you haven't had the baby yet, you just want to make sure it's in there right, you can come and do it. But you also could come with your child, correct? Because I know for me, I had one of you guys, Abby, install it before she was born. But then it's nerve-wracking leaving the hospital and actually putting your tiny little baby in this and making sure that they're in there correctly.
Right.
And so I had, and obviously I work here, but I did have Abby check again to make sure I had her all, strapped in correctly and everything, because that's, confusing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit, and maybe kind of can bring the camera down here a little bit. So when we think about, and we don't have a baby in here, but there's the different pieces of this, and I think what is confusing a lot of times is where this should be on the baby. So can you talk about a little bit about, like, when we're putting a baby in here, where this clip should be for safety?
Okay, so for a rear-facing child, we would have the straps at or below their shoulders. That's one thing, and that's different than forward-facing. So when you undo this and unbuckle these, you put the baby in, and their legs come through here, arms around here, and we buckle the chest clip and buckle this here, okay? And so this chest clip should be at the pit level, okay, when it's tightened. So we start out here, and as we tighten it, it kind of moves a little bit. Put that right there at the pit. And then the straps should be tight enough that when you pinch it, you can't pinch more than an inch. If you can pinch more than an inch, it's probably too loose.
Yeah. So this is where the pinching.
Yes.
And so then
right
this kind of, you can kind of just zoom to me that the clip should be kind of on the hard part of the baby. You don't want it on their belly.
Right.
Because in a crash, that's where it's all soft and all the intestines are. You want it right here on the baby. So pulling it up tight on there. So I think that's important and something that.
And most of the car seats tighten in a very similar way.
Yeah.
It's either here or it's right behind the seat.
Okay.
And should be fairly easy to figure that out. One other note is some of the seats have these little inserts, and they have like, a lot of times they'll have like a weight limit or something. They'll say use this up through 15 pounds or whatever.
Okay.
You remove that and then continue using the seat.
Okay. And then I'll let us stand up here in a second, but you can also see on this one that this has a base. But this type of seat, I just had this conversation last week with a friend, can also be installed without a base if necessary.
Yes.
Correct?
If you find yourself without the base, you can install it with the lap and shoulder belt. And one thing that shows you is there's little guides here, and that will show you that there are a few that don't have them. But that you can tell, though, there's a little thing, that's where the seat belt would go. I
was going to ask if that was something that was regulated, but it sounds like it's not, most of them do have that option.
Do, yeah.
And that's nice, because that way, you know, I've always felt like, oh, in an emergency that my parents had to pick up my daughter, you know, so
they could do that.
They could do that and wouldn't need the base, so, which is nice. Okay. What am I missing to ask you, Kelly? What are some other maybe pitfalls that parents often make when it comes to car seats? Or
one thing I would say is, we were talking about rear facing and forward facing and all of that kind of thing, is that you want to make sure you understand that a child should not go into a booster. This is one mistake that parents do make. Shouldn't go into a booster if they are under 4 or under 40 pounds. Okay. And that, you can see that in our law paper that we talked about. Again, on the stickers, it will tell you this seat can be used. I'm sure that somewhere they could find, you know, a booster that might have a different poundage, but that is in general what we say about that. So under 4 and 40 pounds, they have to be in a harness seat.
Okay, interesting. And anything else that you find the parents are often asking you all the time? Or
I get a lot of questions about why not using the seatbelt and the latch anchors, why we're not using those together. And we go with the manufacturer's instructions on that. And the engineers will tell you that these systems have been tested separately, and they function differently the way they are set up now. And so if they're both being used at the same time, they could possibly work against each other. So we recommend to parents that you try, you know, do one. If you're more comfortable with the seatbelt, do that. If you're more comfortable with latch. One thing about the latch system is that at a certain level, it has a weight limit. The weight of the child plus the weight of the seat can't exceed 65. So that's something to remember if a parent would like to use those.
Okay, great.
The other thing is, too, is then when you add children to the family, you think about the room in your car, and that might be an issue. Fitting certain seats and where they go, and where to put all the kids, and all of that kind of thing. That's another reason why you add people to see whether all the seats fit.
Great. Well, this has been really great, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want to check out where to get your car seat checked, or if you want to make an appointment to come to Dayton Children's do that, you can go onto our website and get that information. And we encourage you to share this video on your Facebook page, or share it with a mom or a dad or a grandparent that you know, and so that way we can make sure all of our kids are riding safely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you guys. Bye.